within regards to Bitul Chametz, B'dikat Chametz, all for the festival of Passover, for Pesach. This is a third installment over here using the brilliant notes of Rabbi Yonatan Naxon here on the Orthodox Union website, which I very much recommend to listen or to look at his notes in of itself, according to the Sephardi practice of the holidays, or let's just say of Passover respectively. We're up to Bitul Chametz, which is number 61, the 61st installment over here in what we've been speaking about. Now, I'll just give a brief, let's say, overview of what Bitul Chametz is, which we've talked about. I believe we already spoke about this in detail, about within regards to the completion of B'dikat Chametz, when you search for the Chametz, what to do, what was liturgy to say. And we said in the last session that you should say the phrase in Aramaic, Kol Chamira de'ika b'rushiti de'lo chazitei v'dlo v'atei v'til v'lehevei ka'afra da'ara. You should say it in English if you don't understand, or in Hebrew naturally. And we spoke about more with regards to the Bitul Chametz issue. Now we are up to a question is that one who did not perform the B'dika on the night of the 14th Nisan, what does that person do now over here? This is a question he's going to grapple with a bit and give, let's look at it in depth. Number 70. If one already performed the B'dika with the candle on the night of the 13th of Nisan and did not bring Chametz into his home since, he does not have to perform another B'dika on the night of the 14th. One should not inspect the entire home before the night of the 14th. If one needs to, let's say, minimize the burden of checking his entire home in one night, he may inspect part of the home before the night of the 14th and leave at least one room unchecked for B'dikat Chametz on the night of the 14th. Now, 72. If B'dikat Chametz was not performed on the night of the 14th, it should be performed on the following day, even after the time to burn the Chametz has passed, even after that time has passed in himself. If one did not perform the B'dika before Pesach, he is required to perform during Pesach the B'dika. Wow. If he did not recite the Bitul, he would be required to perform a B'dika on Yom Tov itself without a candle. Any Chametz found on Yom Tov should be covered and then burned on Chol Moed. This is what's, let's say, just unequivocally stated over there. The source for that is number 94. And that is from Shulchan Aruch 435, number 1. Very interesting enough. Okay, if one did not perform a B'dika before Pesach, he should do so after Pesach without a bracha. This is required so that one does not derive benefit from any chametz that was in his possession over Pesach. Number 74. When one is checking during the daytime because he forgot to check the night before, one must still use a candle over here. Now, the source of that is Shulchan Aruch 433, number 2. Okay, now one who leaves his home before Pesach, what does he do over here? Leaving within 30 days of Pesach. So, number 75. If a person leaves his home within 30 days of Pesach, even if he has no intention to return until after Pesach, he must perform B'dikat Chametz before he leaves. Wow. Since this B'dika is not performed on the night of the 14th of Nisan, no bracha is recited, so you don't say a blessing. A person may appoint a messenger to perform B'dikat Chametz on the night of the 14th, so you can use a shliach. Another option for someone who is leaving before Pesach is to sell his home to a non-Jew, which will absolve him from the requirement to perform B'dikat Chametz. However, if one will be traveling to a destination where he will not have to perform B'dikat Chametz, he should search his home before he leaves, even though he will be selling it. That's interesting. Okay. 78. If the owner of the house will be letting someone else use his home when he is gone, the person over here who will be using the house is required to perform a B'dika and not the owner. Okay. One who forgot to perform a B'dika on the night before his departure must perform a B'dika on the following day. So the source for that is, I think he quotes over here with regards to Shulchan Aruch, I think Orach Chaim 435, number 1 over here, and gives a tidbit inside this note. Okay, number 80. If one already left his home where there is more than a kibetz of chametz, and then he remembers that he did not perform a B'dika, he may sell the remaining chametz to a non-Jew. If there is less than a kibetz of chametz remaining, then his recitation of the B'tel Chametz is going to be sufficient. Number 81. One who is staying in a hotel until the day of the 14th of Nisan and will be changing locations before Yom Tov does not have to perform. Okay, before Yom Tov does not have to perform b'dikat chametz on the night of the 14th in his hotel room. If one will be leaving his home prior to the 30 days before Pesach, let's say, i.e. before Purim, one is not obligated to perform a b'dika, but he must still recite a bitul. Okay, friends, now we're talking about performing b'dikat chametz when away from home. What do we do? If a person will be spending Pesach away from his home and arrived at his destination to the night, to the prior to the night of the 14th, he's obligated to perform b'dikat chametz. Now it says over here, the source of this is 437 number 1 in the Shulchan Aruch. If the key to an apartment is in the tenant's possession on the 13th of Nisan, the tenant is required to perform a b'dika. The halacha applies even if he has no intention of moving in until after Pesach. In such a situation, both the tenant and the owner should nullify any chametz in the apartment respectively. Very interesting. So, number 85. A person who rents an apartment from a non-Jew over Pesach will then have to perform a b'dika, even if, let's just say, the key was still in the hands of the non-Jew on the night of the 14th of Nisan. Okay, 86. If a person rents a home on the 14th by day or at night after the b'dika could have been performed and does not know whether a b'dika was already performed, he should clarify with the owner, or let's say a family member of his. If the owner is out of town or unavailable, one may assume that he performed the b'dika and the new tenant is only required to then nullify the chametz. That's all that's needed. Okay, number 87. One who arrived at a hotel on Erev Pesach during the day, or be staying there throughout Pesach, must perform b'dikat chametz in his hotel room without a blessing, even though he already performed one in his home that specific night before. Okay, now we're talking about yeshiva student. A yeshiva student is obligated to perform b'dikat chametz in his dormitory without a bracha, even if he will not be there during Passover itself. Now, the topic of biur chametz, burning the chametz. The requirement of biur chametz is for chametz to be destroyed. This may be accomplished in a number of ways. First of all, by burning the chametz, crumbling and releasing it into the wind, or casting it into a body of water, which may also be accomplished by either pouring it down a sink, drain, or flushing it down the toilet. Nevertheless, the custom is to burn the chametz, since some poskim maintain that the mitzvah can only be fulfilled with burning. 90. The chametz should be burned any time before the end of the 5th hour. 91. One should preferably burn at least a kazayit of chametz. Therefore, it's recommended to leave over a kazayit from before for biur chametz. 92. One should not douse the chametz with lighter fluid before burning it. However, one may spray the lighter fluid around it so that it will catch fire. Naturally, that's what's brought down. Okay. It's allowed to throw chametz into the fire if one cannot get close because of the heat. Naturally, it could be dangerous. Doing so is not considered being disrespectful to the bread, since this is a way that the mitzvah is done. 94. Preferably the chametz should not be burned by a non-Jew, so it should be done by a Jew. 95. Even women are obligated in mitzvah of biur chametz. I'll bring down the source for this, number 120 here. Shari Teshuvah, beginning of the Siman, in the name of the Sha'agat Ariyah. That's what's brought down within regards to that. Okay, so after the chametz has been burned, one should recite bitul chametz. One should wait until the chametz is completely burned, since one immediately loses ownership when reciting it. When reciting the bitul during the day, one should add, I think there's a liturgy over here, the chazitei v'dla, chazitei, v'artei v'dla, v'artei, livtil v'lehevei. Okay, what I found and what I did not find, what I destroyed and what I did not destroy should be nullified. Okay, number 98, over here. Even someone who is a guest or living in his parents' home should recite the daytime bitul. That's another requirement. 99. If one has a lot of chametz and it's difficult to burn all of it, he may not discard it in the garbage bin on his property. Rather, he should discard the chametz in a public garbage bin. It should be done publicly. Okay, we've nearly finished. Let's do a few more, and then we finish this series on chametz, b'dikat chametz itself. If one found chametz in his home on Pesach, 100. If one found chametz in his home on Chol Hamoed, he must remove it from his home and burn it immediately. 101. If one found chametz on Yom Tov, the chametz is muktzah and may not be moved. In such a situation, one should place a pot or another object over the chametz to cover it until Yom Tov is over, and should then burn it. One may also instruct a non-Jew to dispose of the chametz. Now, if one sold all his chametz before Pesach to a non-Jew, any chametz found in his home on Pesach has the status of the non-Jew's chametz in the Jewish home, and it should be put with the rest of the chametz that one sold to the non-Jew. Okay, a few more and we'll finish. Now, chametz on Erev Pesach. Although the prohibition of eating or benefiting from chametz begins at Chatzot, Chachamim extended this time period to 2 hours earlier. Therefore, no chametz may be eaten after the fourth halachic hour, sha'ot zmaniot, of the day. Soft zman achilat matzah. Likewise, it's prohibited to receive any benefit from chametz after the end of the fifth hour. Now, number 104. Bittul chametz must be performed before the 6th hour of the day for it to be effective. And once one reaches a time when it's prohibited to benefit from chametz, one may not even benefit from a non-Jewish person's chametz. The last one over here. One should brush his teeth before the final time when one may eat chametz on Erev Pesach, so that one will not have chametz stuck between one's teeth over here. Now, the source for that at the end of 133 is a Ben Ish Chai in Sab. Number 1, number 8, very interesting. And the Chazon Ovadia, page 62, I believe. And there's other sources within regards to this. So friends, everyone watching, please subscribe to the channel now. We've covered this installment within regards to learning. We've got a lot of video content here within regards to Pesach, loads of Daf Yomi videos we're doing. Subscribe, share the videos to other people, and be well. Take care.